My son put me in a nursing home and sold my house. But when I hit the jackpot, I bought his house and evicted him. This is my story, my journey from heartbreak to justice. Stay with me, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The envelope trembled in my hands as I read the words for the third time, still not believing what I was seeing. Intent to sell family residence. Not finalized yet, but my children had already filed the paperwork to list my home. "It's for your own good, Mother," Marcus said through the phone, his voice carrying that lawyer tone he used with difficult clients. "You can't take care of yourself anymore." I looked around the sterile room they'd put me in at Golden Sunrise Retirement Home. Beige walls, institutional furniture, a roommate who moaned in her sleep. This had been my life for 47 days, ever since that small stroke that had already healed. "You're selling my house without even asking me?" My voice came out stronger than I expected. "We discussed this, remember? The proceeds will cover your care here." In the background, I heard Catherine, his wife, talking about my dining room table. "Is it vintage or just old? Should we keep it or sell it?" "That table belonged to my mama," I said, my voice dropping to ice. "My daddy made it with his own hands." "Mother, you're getting upset. That's not good for your blood pressure. We're handling everything, okay? No need to worry." I touched the small scar at my temple, barely visible now. The doctor had said I'd made a complete recovery, but I wasn't ready to fight this battle yet. Not without allies, not without a plan. "When did the court approve selling my house?" I asked. Knowing the system well enough from my years working in a law office, Marcus hesitated just long enough. "It's part of the emergency guardianship package, Mother, for your care expenses." A lie. I'd read enough legal documents to know better, but I kept that knowledge to myself. "I need to rest now," I said, feigning fatigue. "Of course. I'll call you next week. Love you." The line went dead before I could answer. I sat there, phone still in hand, a pressure building in my chest that had nothing to do with my heart condition. Through the window, I could see the small courtyard where they wheeled residents on nice days. Beyond that, a parking lot and a strip mall. Not the magnolia tree I'd planted when Marcus was born. Not the porch where I'd watched my grandkids play. Not home. I carefully placed the phone down and opened the drawer of my bedside table. Inside was a tattered photo album, one of the few personal items they'd allowed me to bring. I flipped through pages of my life, me as a young nurse, my 3 babies, the house I'd worked 2 jobs to keep after Clarence walked out on us. "Ms. Washington?" A nurse's aide popped her head in. "It's time for bingo in the common room." "I'm not feeling up to it today, sugar," I said, forcing a smile. After she left, I pulled out the bottom drawer completely and reached behind it to where I'd taped a small notebook and pen. Inside, I'd been documenting everything since they brought me here. Every conversation, every visit, every inconsistency in their stories. My hand was steady as I wrote today's date, and Marcus's words verbatim. Beneath it, I added, "Day 47. They're selling my house. They think I'm finished. They about to learn how wrong they are." "Ms. Eleanor, you've hardly touched your dinner," said Mabel, the night nurse with kind eyes and a wedding band that left a permanent indent on her finger even though I never saw her wear it. "Not hungry tonight," I replied, pushing the gray meatloaf around my plate. "Those children of yours coming to visit this weekend?" I gave her a look that answered her question. 3 weeks since Marcus had called to tell me they were selling my house. No visits, just silence. "My grandbaby used to love my Sunday dinners," I said, more to myself than Mabel. "Fried chicken, mac and cheese, collard greens with ham hocks, dessert always ready when they walked through the door." "Sounds delicious," Mabel said, checking my vitals and marking her clipboard. What I didn't say was how I'd worked 2 jobs for years after Clarence left me with 3 children under 12. How I'd stretch every dollar, mending clothes and making meals from whatever was on sale that week. How I'd still manage to help Marcus with his homework each night. The boy showing such promise with numbers and words. I remembered the night Marcus came home with a swollen eye, some boys from the neighborhood trying to recruit him into their crew. I called in a favor from Mr. Kendrick at the law firm where I worked nights. 2 weeks later, Marcus had a scholarship to Westlake Academy across town. When Desiree got pregnant at 16, I held her while she cried, then arranged my shifts so I could watch little Michael while she finished school. That boy became like my own, staying with me more than with his mama, once Desiree caught the real estate bug and started chasing dollars. And Jamal, my youngest, so sensitive, The way his eyes lit up when I mortgaged the house to pay for his medicals. "I'll pay you back, Mama," he'd promised. "I'll take care of you when I'm a doctor." "You need anything else tonight, Ms. Eleanor?" Mabel asked, pulling me back to the present. "No, sugar, I'm fine." After she left, I pulled out my notebook from its hiding place and wrote, Day 68. No visits, no calls. Michael's still in that study abroad program in Brazil with limited communication. After everything I sacrificed, my new roommate, Gloria Jenkins, a retired math teacher with arthritis that bent her fingers like tree branches, watched me from her bed. "They don't deserve your tears," she said, noticing what I tried to hide. "Ain't crying for them," I lied, wiping my cheek. "Just got something in my eye." Gloria nodded, seeing right through me. "My son visits every third Sunday, regular as clockwork, sits for exactly 30 minutes, then looks at his watch and remembers somewhere else he needs to be." I tucked my notebook away carefully. The staff did random room checks, especially for confused patients like me. "At least he comes. They drop us here and go on with their lives," Gloria said. "Like we're storage containers filled with old memories they don't want cluttering their pretty houses, but can't quite throw away." That night, I dreamed of my house, the creaky third step I never fixed, the wallpaper in the kitchen I'd always meant to change, the bedroom where I'd nursed each of my children through fevers and heartbreaks. In my dream, I was trying to get inside, but my key wouldn't work. "Your blood pressure is elevated, Mrs. Washington," Dr. Montgomery said, checking his chart during my 3-month follow-up. "Are you taking your medication regularly?" "Yes," I answered, though sometimes I hid the pills under my tongue when the nurses weren't looking. The medication made me foggy, and I needed my mind sharp. "Any dizziness? Confusion? Memory issues?" I looked him straight in the eye. "My memory is just fine, doctor." He made a note, not really listening. That's when the door opened, and a younger nurse walked in, freezing when she saw me. "Mrs. Washington?" she said, her accent carrying hints of somewhere tropical. "Eleanor Washington from Grady Memorial?" "That's me, honey," I said, trying to place her. "I'm Luisa Vega. You trained me when I was just starting out, maybe 12 years ago?" Her eyes sparkled with genuine warmth. "You were the best mentor I ever had. You taught me how to talk to patients like people, not just charts." Dr. Montgomery looked between us, confused by this interruption to his routine. "Luisa, look at you now," I said, memories returning. "You were such a quick study." "Mrs. Washington was a nursing supervisor for over 30 years, Luisa explained to the doctor. "Half the nurses in Atlanta learned from her." "Is that so?" Dr. Montgomery said, suddenly seeing me differently. After he left to see another patient, Luisa lowered her voice. "How are you really doing? I heard about your stroke. It was minor. I'm recovered. But my children—" I hesitated, not wanting to air family business. Luisa checked the hallway before closing the door. "Mrs. Washington, my grandfather went through something similar. His children tried to take control of his affairs after a health scare. The dam broke. I told her everything. The stroke, the rushed guardianship hearing, the nursing home, the house being prepared for sale without my consent." "This isn't right," Luisa said, her jaw tight. "Have you spoken to a lawyer? With what money? They control everything now." She squeezed my hand. "My sister-in-law Beverly is an attorney who specializes in elder law. She takes cases like this on contingency sometimes. I can't ask you to—" "You didn't ask," I offered. She wrote something on a prescription pad. "I'll contact her today. In the meantime, keep detailed notes of everything. But be careful. These places monitor everything." I patted my pocket where my notebook hid. "Already on it, honey." The next 3 weeks were challenging. After my appointment, the staff seemed more watchful, checking my room more frequently, monitoring my phone calls. It took nearly a month before Mr. Wilson, a volunteer who ran the weekly resident outings, managed to slip me a blue envelope during our trip to the park. Inside was a business card for Beverly Jenkins, attorney at law, and a letter from Thomas Kendrick, my old boss from the law firm. The letter knocked the breath from my lungs. Clarence, my ex-husband who'd abandoned us 30 years ago, had died 8 months earlier. He'd left a life insurance policy worth $1.2 million, with me as the sole beneficiary. And Marcus, executor of Clarence's will, had known about it the entire time. That night, I showed the letter to Gloria, who'd become my confidant. "Child, this changes everything," she whispered, her mathematics mind already calculating possibilities. "Only if I can access it," I said. "As long as they have guardianship, Then we make sure they don't. Gloria's gnarled fingers tapped the paper. Your ex-husband did one good thing in his miserable life. Don't waste it. Your children are coming today, Nurse Patty announced, like she was delivering good news. I looked up from the book I wasn't really reading. All 3 of them? Yes, ma'am. They called this morning to confirm. 6 months I'd been in Golden Sunrise. In that time, Marcus had visited twice, Desiree once, and Jamal 3 times, but always with that distracted look like he was mentally reviewing patient charts. Now suddenly all 3 were coming together? Something was up. I glanced at Gloria, who raised an eyebrow. We'd been working with Beverly for 3 months now, building my case quietly. The guardianship review hearing was scheduled for next month, but my children shouldn't know about that yet. Better put on my Sunday best, I said, keeping my voice light. When they arrived, I was sitting in the visitors' lounge, wearing the blue dress I'd saved from the few clothes they'd let me bring. I'd asked Mabel to help me with my hair that morning. Mama, you look well, Desiree said, kissing my cheek. Always the first to speak, my middle child. The staff here taking good care of you? Marcus asked, still standing while the others sat. The boss, even now. Jamal sat closest, his doctor's eyes scanning me professionally. How's your blood pressure been? I smiled, playing the role of the docile mother they expected. I'm doing just fine. How nice to see all my children at once. Must be a special occasion. They exchanged glances. Marcus took the lead. Mother, we've been talking about your house. The renovations Desiree has been overseeing are almost complete. My house? I asked innocently. Yes, and we have excellent news, Desiree jumped in. The market in your neighborhood has exploded. The property value has nearly doubled. That heritage oak in the front yard alone adds $15,000 to the value, Marcus added. The one I planted when you were born? I asked, my voice steady. He missed the point entirely. Yes, that one. Anyway, we've had several offers already, but we're holding out for the best price. And what happens to that money? I asked. It goes into your care fund, of course, Marcus explained like I was a child. To make sure you're provided for. I nodded slowly. And how much does this place cost per month? Another exchange of glances. Around $5,000, Jamal finally answered. I did the math aloud. So $60,000 a year. And my house will sell for... We're expecting offers around $850,000, Desiree said proudly. So that's 14 years of care, I said. What happens to the rest if I don't live that long? Uncomfortable silence filled the room. Mother, why are you being morbid? Marcus asked, his lawyer voice slipping. Just curious about my own finances, I replied, since I don't see any statements anymore. We're handling everything, Marcus assured me. That's what the guardianship is for. Speaking of which, I said casually, I've been feeling so much better. Don't you think it's time to revisit that arrangement? The doctors feel this is still the best situation for you, Jamal said quickly. Which doctors? When was my last evaluation? My children looked increasingly uncomfortable. This wasn't the compliant mother they'd expected. We should go, Marcus finally said. We have dinner reservations. As they stood to leave, I asked one more question. By the way, did your father leave anything when he died? I heard about his passing from an old colleague. The blood drained from Marcus's face. Desiree and Jamal looked confused. Daddy died, Desiree asked. When? About 8 months ago, I answered, watching Marcus. I was going to tell you all, he stammered. There were complications with the estate. As they left, Marcus hurrying them out, I sat back in my chair, watching the seeds of doubt I'd planted begin to sprout. Gloria wheeled herself over. Round 1 to Eleanor. Beverly's office smelled like lemon polish and old books. Through the window, Atlanta's skyline shimmered in the summer heat. This was my first trip outside Golden Sunrise that wasn't for a medical appointment, and the world felt overwhelming and wonderful all at once. You're looking well, Eleanor, Beverly said, her braids pulled back in a professional bun. Ready for next month's hearing? I straightened my shoulders. Born ready. She smiled, shuffling papers on her desk. Let's go over everything one more time. The neurologist's evaluation confirms you're mentally competent. We have documentation of the irregular process used to establish the emergency guardianship. We have evidence that Marcus concealed the insurance policy from you and his siblings. And the recording? I asked. Beverly patted a small digital device. Louisa recorded Dr. Phillips admitting he never conducted a proper evaluation before signing off on your competency assessment. He just took Jamal's word for it. 7 months I'd been gathering evidence, building allies, and preparing for this moment. Gloria had taught me organization techniques from her teaching days. Mr. Wilson had explained financial statements based on his former career as a forensic accountant. Louisa had been my connection to the outside world. "What about my house?" I asked. "The judge issued a temporary injunction preventing its sale until after the hearing." Beverly leaned forward. "Eleanor, I want to prepare you. Your children have hired Caldwell and Stern to represent them." "Big guns," I said, not surprised. "Marcus would know all the best firms. They'll try to paint you as confused, maybe even manipulated by me or others. They'll bring up every forgotten name, every missed appointment." I nodded, my jaw set. "I raised those children on a nurse's salary after their daddy walked out, put them through college, held Desiree's baby while she built her career, mortgaged my house for Jamal's medical school. If anyone was manipulated, it was me." Beverly's eyes softened. "Have you heard from your grandson, Michael? Would his testimony help? He's still in that study abroad program in Brazil. Limited internet access. He emails when he can, but he doesn't know what's happening. I don't want to worry him during his big opportunity." That evening, back at Golden Sunrise, Gloria helped me choose an outfit for court. My options were limited, but I had a navy dress that still fit well enough. "You nervous?" Gloria asked. "Terrified," I admitted, "but ready. What will you do if you win? About your children, I mean." I paused, folding a slip carefully. "I raised them better than this. Something went wrong along the way. Maybe my fault, maybe the world's, but they're still mine. Even after everything they did." I thought about Marcus as a 12-year-old, staying up late to study because he wanted to make me proud. Desiree at 9, braiding my hair on Sunday mornings before church. Jamal at 7, crying when he found me asleep on the couch after a double shift, covering me with his favorite blanket. "Family is complicated," I finally said. "That's the truest thing I've heard all day," Gloria replied. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about Clarence, who'd abandoned us but left me that insurance money, maybe his way of finally doing right. I thought about my house, with every memory etched into its walls. I thought about next month, when I'd face my children across a courtroom. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Nothing like the grand chambers on television. Judge Harriet Coleman, a black woman with silver-streaked hair and reading glasses perched on her nose, studied the documents before her. "This is a hearing to review the temporary guardianship of Eleanor Washington," she announced. "I see we have new counsel representing Mrs. Washington." Beverly stood. "Yes, Your Honor. Beverly Jenkins, for Mrs. Washington." Across the aisle, 3 attorneys from Caldwell and Stern sat alongside my children. Marcus looked confident in his expensive suit. Desiree kept checking her phone until one of the lawyers took it from her. Jamal's eyes were fixed on the table, his shoulders hunched. The proceedings moved quickly at first, but soon became bogged down in legal maneuvers. Beverly presented the neurologist's evaluation, then called Louisa to testify about the medical inconsistencies in my case. Mr. Wilson spoke about my mental acuity during our weekly outings, specifically mentioning our chess matches where I'd beaten him repeatedly. When it was my turn to speak, I walked to the witness stand without assistance, feeling my children's eyes on me. "Mrs. Washington," Judge Coleman said, "can you tell the court why you believe this guardianship should be terminated?" I took a deep breath. "Your Honor, I had a minor stroke 8 months ago. I've fully recovered. I'm capable of making my own decisions and managing my own affairs. And why do you believe your children sought guardianship?" I looked directly at them. They wanted control of my house and finances. They saw an opportunity when I was temporarily incapacitated and took it. Marcus leaned forward, whispering urgently to his attorney, who stood. "Objection, Your Honor. Mrs. Washington is making unfounded accusations." "It's not unfounded when I have proof," I said, before the judge could rule. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Mrs. Washington, please answer only the questions asked." The hearing stretched over 3 full days. Beverly presented evidence, piece by piece, the concealed life insurance policy, the rushed house sale preparations, the funds being funneled through accounts Marcus controlled, the payments to contractors who happened to work with Desiree's real estate business. By the final day, my children's faces had changed. Marcus's confidence crumbled. Desiree stopped fidgeting with her absent phone. Jamal finally looked up, horror dawning in his eyes. After the closing arguments, Judge Coleman announced she would review all evidence and issue her ruling in 2 weeks. "This is a complex case involving both legal and family matters. I want to give it the consideration it deserves." Those 2 weeks were the longest of my life. I returned to Golden Sunrise, where the staff now treated me differently, some with newfound respect, others with cold efficiency. Word had spread about my challenge to the guardianship. Finally, Beverly called with news. Judge Coleman had ruled in my favor, but with conditions. The guardianship would be dissolved gradually over a 3-month transition period. During that time, I would regain control of my finances and personal decisions, but major assets, including my house, would require court approval for any transactions. It's a victory, Eleanor, Beverly assured me. Not a complete one, but significant. And my children? I asked. What happens to them? The judge has referred Marcus's actions to the State Bar Association for ethics review. Jamal's involvement with your medical diagnosis has been flagged for the hospital ethics board. Desiree's facing questions about contractor kickbacks, but no criminal charges at this point. I closed my eyes, feeling a complex mix of vindication and sorrow. When can I go home? We'll start the process tomorrow, Beverly promised. After I hung up, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the institutional walls that had been my prison for nearly 9 months. Justice was coming, but it tasted bittersweet. The house needs work, I said, standing in my living room for the first time in nearly 10 months. The renovations Desiree had overseen were impressive but soulless. Gray walls, granite countertops, hardwood floors that gleamed but weren't the ones my children had grown up running across. It looked like a model home, staged for strangers. We can change anything you don't like, Desiree said, hovering uncertainly nearby. Our first family counseling session, mandated by the court as part of the guardianship dissolution, had been the previous day. A tense hour of careful words and avoided eyes. Dr. Williams, the therapist, had suggested Desiree help me move back home as a first step toward rebuilding trust. Where are my things? I asked. My photos? Daddy's table? Desiree looked uncomfortable. Some things are in storage. Others, Catherine thought they wouldn't fit the new aesthetic. Catherine? Marcus's wife had a say in what happened to my belongings? She has an eye for design, Desiree said weakly. I walked through each room, feeling like a visitor in my own home. The kitchen where I'd cooked thousands of meals was unrecognizable, with its shiny appliances and marble backsplash. My bedroom had been converted into a master suite, with a bathroom where my sewing area had been. We thought it would help the resale value, Desiree explained, following me. I'm not selling, I said firmly. Upstairs, the bedrooms where my children had grown up were now styled as guest rooms and a home office. No trace remained of Marcus's basketball trophies, Desiree's dance ribbons, or Jamal's science fair certificates. Where's Michael's crib? I asked suddenly. What? The crib Desiree's son, your son, slept in when he stayed with me. I was saving it. Desiree looked genuinely confused. That old thing? Mama, it was falling apart. It was family history, I said quietly. 2 weeks later, I received an email from Michael. His program in Brazil was ending, and he'd be home in a month. He didn't know what had happened. I'd kept the truth from him, not wanting to derail his once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Now I'd have to tell him everything. Meanwhile, Gloria's situation had become precarious. After my case brought attention to Golden Sunrise, state inspectors had found numerous violations. The facility was under new management, but Gloria was worried about retaliation for helping me. Come stay with me, I offered during our weekly phone call. The house is too big for just me anyway. You sure about that? Don't need another burden. You're not a burden. Gloria, you're my friend, and I'm going to need allies for what comes next. What came next was the slow process of rebuilding my life. The insurance money from Clarence remained tied up in legal proceedings, Marcus fighting to maintain control as executor of his father's estate. My children attended mandatory counseling sessions, their attitudes ranging from Marcus's defensive resentment to Jamal's quiet shame. During our 4th session, Dr. Williams asked what I wanted from my family going forward. Respect, I said simply. Not just for me, but for all elders, for people who society tries to make invisible. That's vague. Mother, Marcus said, his lawyer habits hard to break. What specifically do you want from us? I looked at my firstborn, the boy I'd sacrificed everything for, the man who'd betrayed me, the son who still had a place in my heart despite it all. I want you to help me build something, I said. Something that might help repair the damage you've done, not just to me, but to your own souls. Grandma? Michael's voice was the sweetest sound I'd heard in months. My grandson, Desiree's boy, whom I'd helped raise, bounded up the porch steps and wrapped me in a hug that nearly knocked me off my feet. "Look at you," I exclaimed, holding him at arm's length. "A college man now." Michael had flown in from Brazil the previous night, coming straight to my house this morning. At 20, he had his mother's confidence, but a gentleness all his own. "Why didn't you tell me what was happening?" he demanded, his face darkening. "I had to hear it from Uncle Jamal last night. They put you in a nursing home? Tried to sell your house?" "Hush now," I said, guiding him inside. "You were doing important work, and I handled it. But they're your children. My mother. How could she?" I sighed, settling into my favorite chair, one of the few original pieces of furniture I'd managed to recover from storage. "It's complicated, baby. Money does things to people. Fear of aging, fear of their own mortality." "That's no excuse," Michael insisted. "No, it's not. But understanding why people do wrong isn't the same as excusing it." Gloria wheeled herself in from the kitchen where she'd been making tea. "Your grandma's too gracious. If my children had done to me what hers did to her, I'd have written them out of my life completely." "Gloria Jenkins, meet my grandson Michael," I said. "She was my roommate at Golden Sunrise and my partner in crime." "The math teacher?" Michael said, smiling. "Grandma's letters mentioned you." "All good things, I hope," Gloria said, extending her hand. "The best," I assured her. Throughout the afternoon, Michael helped me sort through boxes of family items we'd recovered from storage, photos, keepsakes, memories that had nearly been erased. As we worked, I told him my plan. "A foundation?" he repeated, eyes widening. "For elder justice," I explained. "Using the insurance money from your grandfather, once the courts finally release it, to help other seniors who face what I faced but don't have the resources to fight back." "That's amazing, Grandma." "It will take time, legal hurdles, organizational challenges, but I have good people helping me." Michael's face turned serious. "What about Mom and my uncles?" I sighed. "That's even more complicated. The court ordered family counseling as part of dissolving the guardianship. We've had 6 sessions so far. And Marcus is facing disciplinary action from the Bar Association. Jamal's hospital is reviewing his involvement in my case. Desiree's real estate business is struggling after some of her practices came to light." I touched Michael's hand. "They're still your family, baby. Still my children. After what they did? You're willing to forgive them?" I considered his question carefully. "Forgiveness is a process, not an event, and it doesn't mean there aren't consequences." That evening, my children came for dinner, another requirement of the court-mandated family rehabilitation plan. Michael's presence changed the dynamic completely. His natural protectiveness toward me and his unfiltered disappointment in his mother and uncles cut through the careful politeness that had characterized our previous gatherings. "So you just decided Grandma was incompetent?" he asked bluntly over dessert. "Without proper medical evaluation?" Jamal flinched. "It wasn't that simple, Michael." "Seems pretty simple to me," Michael shot back. "You saw an opportunity and took it. That's enough," I said gently. "We're here to rebuild, not tear down further." "I don't understand how you can even look at them," Michael muttered. I reached for his hand. "Because they're mine, just like you're mine. And family is complicated, but it's still family." After they left, Michael helped me and Gloria clean up. "I still think you're too forgiving," he said. "Drying dishes." "Maybe," I admitted, "but I'm not done yet. The foundation isn't just about helping others. It's about making sure your mother and uncles remember who they are and where they came from." Later, lying in bed in my reclaimed home, I thought about the long road ahead. The foundation was still just an idea. The insurance money still tied up in legal challenges. My relationship with my children still deeply wounded. But for the first time in over a year, I felt something that had been missing: purpose. "Mrs. Washington, what can you tell us about the Elder Justice Initiative you're developing?" The reporter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution held her recorder toward me as we stood on the steps of the courthouse. "It's early stages yet," I answered carefully. "But our mission is to provide legal advocacy, medical oversight, and financial protection for seniors at risk of exploitation." 14 months after regaining my independence, I stood with Beverly outside the probate court, where a judge had finally released Clarence's insurance money from Marcus's control. The legal battle had been lengthy and expensive, but necessary. "And your children? Will they be involved after what happened?" I saw Marcus flinch from where he stood with his siblings at the edge of the gathered crowd. The disciplinary action from the Bar Association had resulted in a 1-year suspension, devastating his career. Jamal had received a formal reprimand from the hospital ethics board. Desiree's real estate business had survived, but with a tarnished reputation. My family has learned difficult lessons, I said diplomatically. We're all finding our way forward. Inside the courthouse, Beverly handed me the final paperwork. Congratulations, Eleanor. It's officially your money now. I studied the document, evidence of Clarence's final act of restitution after abandoning his family decades earlier. Seems fitting it should help others. The foundation paperwork is moving through the system, Beverly continued. Probably another 6 months before we're fully operational, but we can start building the framework now. And the board members? All confirmed. You, me, Louisa, Gloria, Mr. Wilson from Golden Sunrise, and 2 attorneys from my firm who specialize in elder law. We're still looking for a medical ethics specialist. I glanced toward Jamal, who stood awkwardly with his siblings near the door. I might have someone in mind. Beverly followed my gaze and raised an eyebrow. Are you sure that's wise? Not wise, maybe, but necessary. I squared my shoulders. Would you give me a moment with my children? The 3 of them looked up nervously as I approached, so different from the confident adults who had conspired to put me away a 1.5 years ago. Mother, Marcus said formally, congratulations. Thank you. I studied each of their faces. I'd like you all to come to dinner this Sunday. I have a proposal to discuss. A proposal? Desiree asked cautiously. About the foundation, and your roles in it. They exchanged glances, a habit they still hadn't broken. You want us involved? Jamal asked, genuine surprise in his voice. I'm considering it, I said truthfully, under very specific conditions. That Sunday, Gloria helped me prepare dinner while Michael set the table. He'd deferred his return to college for a semester to help me establish the foundation, working alongside Beverly to research similar organizations nationwide. You sure about this, Eleanor? Gloria asked when we were alone in the kitchen. Inviting the wolves back into the fold? They're not wolves, I said, stirring the greens. They're lost sheep who forgot their shepherd. Poetic. But they nearly destroyed you. I set down my spoon and faced my friend. The foundation isn't just about helping strangers, Gloria. It's about redemption, theirs and mine. My children arrived precisely at 6, each bearing something. Desiree brought flowers, Jamal a bottle of sparkling cider, Marcus a small wrapped package that he presented awkwardly. What's this? I asked, taking it. Open it, he said quietly. Inside was a framed photograph of my daddy's handmade table. I tracked it down, Marcus explained. Catherine sold it to an antique dealer in Buckhead. I've arranged to buy it back. It arrives next week. I touched the image, emotion tightening my throat. Thank you. Over dinner, I outlined my proposal. Each of them would contribute their professional skills to the foundation. Marcus would review legal cases once his suspension ended. Desiree would help seniors navigate housing issues. Jamal would develop medical advocacy protocols. We'd be volunteers, Desiree clarified. Unpaid advisors, I confirmed, for at least the first 3 years. Why? Marcus asked, the direct question hanging in the air. Because you need to remember who you are, I said simply, and because others shouldn't suffer what I suffered. They didn't answer immediately, but by evening's end, all 3 had tentatively agreed, not from enthusiasm, not yet, but from a mixture of obligation, guilt, and perhaps a small spark of genuine desire to make amends. As they left, Michael stood protectively at my side. I still don't trust them, he whispered. Trust takes time to rebuild, I replied, watching my children walk to their cars. But it has to start somewhere. Eleanor Washington Elder Justice Initiative, I read aloud, tracing the freshly painted letters on the door of our new office. Sounds official. It is official, Beverly said, unlocking the door. As of yesterday when the final paperwork cleared. 20 months after fighting my way out of Golden Sunrise, I stood at the threshold of something new. The foundation, housed in a modest building in downtown Atlanta, was finally a legal entity, ready to begin helping vulnerable seniors navigate the systems that had nearly swallowed me. Inside, Gloria supervised the arrangement of furniture in the reception area, directing volunteers with the precision of a longtime teacher. Louisa was setting up the resource library, filled with medical and legal information for families. Mr. Wilson organized the financial counseling space, and my children, All three of them worked alongside the others, their roles still awkward but evolving. Marcus, his law license recently reinstated, arranged legal reference materials. Desiree hung maps showing senior housing resources across the city. Jamal configured the medical advocacy database he'd helped design. "Grandma," Michael called from the back office. "The website's live." I followed his voice to where he sat at a computer, proudly displaying the foundation's homepage. At 22, he'd postponed his senior year of college to serve as our first official employee, communications director. "Look," he said, clicking a tab labeled Our Story. There I saw my own face, alongside a carefully worded account of how the foundation came to be, the betrayal, the fight, and the eventual triumph that led to this moment. "Is it okay?" Michael asked. "I can change anything you don't like." I squeezed his shoulder. "It's perfect, baby." The truth told with grace. Later that afternoon, we gathered for a small ribbon-cutting ceremony. No press this time, that would come later. Just the board members, volunteers, and my family. "I want to say a few words," I began, looking at the faces around me. "When I was put in Golden Sunrise against my will, when my house was nearly sold without my consent, when my autonomy was stripped away, I could have surrendered. Many do." Heads nodded throughout the room. My children studied the floor, but I was fortunate. I found allies. I gestured to Gloria, Beverly, Louisa, and Mr. Wilson. I had resources, knowledge from my years working in healthcare and a law office, and the strength to fight back. I moved closer to where my children stood. I also had family who, despite their grave mistakes, found their way back to what matters. I met each of their eyes in turn. Not everyone is so fortunate. I explained how our services would work: legal advocacy, medical guidance, financial counseling, and housing support for seniors facing exploitation or abuse. As I spoke, I saw pride slowly replacing shame in my children's expressions. When the ceremony ended and people dispersed to various tasks, Marcus approached me by the window, overlooking downtown Atlanta. "I never properly apologized," he said quietly, "for what I did, what we all did." "No, you didn't," I agreed. He swallowed hard. "I'm sorry, Mother. I got lost in ambition and fear. I forgot who I was, who you raised me to be." I studied my firstborn's face, the lines of humility that hadn't been there 2 years ago, the weight of consequence in his eyes. "Thank you," I said simply. "Now prove it with your actions, not just your words." Later, as the day wound down, I found myself sitting on the small bench Michael had placed by the front door. Carved into its back were words I'd spoken during one of our family counseling sessions. "Family is not disposable. Neither are our elders. The foundation wouldn't fix everything." My relationship with my children would always bear scars from their betrayal. But sitting there, watching Desiree explain housing rights to Gloria, seeing Jamal and Beverly discuss a potential case, observing Marcus quietly organizing legal resources, I felt something I hadn't expected: hope. Not just for myself, but for other Eleanors out there. People whose voices were being silenced, whose autonomy was threatened, whose dignity was at risk. The nursing home had been meant as my final chapter, a place to be forgotten. Instead, it had become the beginning of something powerful. From betrayal had come purpose. From loss had come renewal. I touched the small scar at my temple, the one from the stroke that had started it all, barely visible now. Like the wound to my heart, it had healed, but left its mark. A reminder not of what had been taken from me, but of what I had reclaimed. "You did it, Eleanor," I whispered to myself. "Hey." Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and share your story in the comments. Your journey might inspire another queen.